Do it. All right. All right, great. Well, welcome, y'all. We're going to do element 8 tonight, eating every 3 hours. And I love this because I think it's hilarious that we do not get to talking about what we're eating on this program until element 8. I think it says so much from Dr. A to us about the fact that the eating part, that is really not the key to lifelong wellness. It's a piece of the puzzle, but I think so many times over the years dieting, we've always thought it was so much bigger a piece of the puzzle than it actually is. Tonight, we're going to cover learning the value and benefits of eating every 3 hours. We're going to identify the key to reaching a healthy weight. We're going to use the Habits of Health clock to create a fueling plan that works. And we're going to explore the ways you can install the habit of eating every 3 hours. So for everybody that's here tonight, with me, I recognize you guys, and I know that you are very familiar with this healthy habit. But for those of you who are new, who are joining us, who are just starting your journey, and you probably, were like me going, eating this often seems counterintuitive, but I'm going to show you the beauty of it, why it works so well, and how I'm here 6 years later, having kept the weight off and continuing to keep the weight off and really loving the way I feel by having developed the habit of being a grazer, which is basically what this is. So increased meal frequency has a positive effect on cholesterol and insulin levels. Okay. So basically, this is this program was originally designed for people with diabetes. It works well for everyone. To keep your insulin level stable, you want to eat smaller, more frequent meals. When you eat a big meal, your insulin spikes to kind of make up for all this stuff that's going into your stomach to digest. And then once it's digested, it drops. And that's where, a lot of times if you've ever had a big Thanksgiving meal, you eat it and then you have a food coma not long afterwards. And that's that spike and drop in insulin. When we eat smaller, more frequent meals, we eat enough to be digested and then utilized in the body to give us energy. Right. And we don't have all this extra stuff that's weighing us down, that's slowing us down, that's dropping the insulin. So we have this wonderful energy, very different from caffeine energy. But for those of you who have hit the fat burn part of your journey, so you're past day 4, you have felt a taste of this energy and it's amazing. And it's just how our body was meant to run. So moving on, if you learn the habits of healthy eating system along with eating more frequently, you have the proven system for long-term weight management. So don't get excited and go, oh my gosh, all I have to do is eat 6 times a day and I'm going to be great. Okay, it matters what we eat in those six times a day. So you can't just eat chips 6 times a day and expect this to work. It matters the portion size. We want to be a grazing size. And it also matters that it's mostly whole things, so not highly processed foods, right? It's basically everything that we're learning to eat in that lean and green meal, or our fuelings, which are perfectly proportioned for us to eat 6 times a day. They provide amazing, as you know, vitamins and nutrients and minerals. The other thing that eating 6 times a day does, they have found when you eat smaller, more frequent meals, it creates natural portion control. So for anybody who's on this journey who is considered gastric bypass or the lap band, because you think I just don't have self-control over how much I eat. Like I feel like I don't notice when I'm full until I'm too full. That was one of my problems. And you think I need to do something drastic to create that portion control. If you do this plan, if you eat according to the plan and you eat the fuelings as prescribed and you have those, you're grazing 6 times a day, you actually create natural portion control. One of the cool things you'll find on this journey is that as you've done this for a little while, it is very difficult to overeat. So let's say you've been on the 5 and 1 for a month, right? Or 2 months, or the 4 and 2 for 2 months, and you go to a wedding. And, you have the opportunity, you're like, okay, look, I'm just going to eat tonight. I'm just going to eat, whatever at the wedding. It's very difficult to overeat because your body now knows what satiated feels like. You're not going to be as tempted to eat foods that don't really taste good to you anymore because you really get a lot out of the fresh foods. And if you try and overeat, your body alerts you to when you're full. So it's very difficult to overeat. You would never overeat in the amount that you had maybe in the past been able to overeat. So all of that is the benefits of that natural portion control that you're creating on this journey. There's something in here that I wanted to read to you. We found that those who avoid breakfast or wait too long to eat between meals, you become overly hungry, and then you're more likely to overeat. So the other benefit of grazing is, because we're eating smaller, more frequent meals, every time we get to a time to eat, we're not ravenous. I will tell you that in times when, and you know, this journey is a journey, it's a lifelong journey, and grazing was not a natural habit for me. There would be times that I would accidentally miss a fueling. And when I got to the time when I realized it was time for my fueling and I was pretty late, I was starving by then. And so when you're grazing, you don't get that starving feeling. You just kind of get this, oh, okay, yeah, I'm ready to eat again. That is huge. And we will carry that through with you on your journey. And I say we, meaning working with your coach, when you transition from your weight loss to weight management. So you won't need to worry about skipping meals, because you won't do that. And we'll show you how to do that, how to be a grazer with regular foods. If you want to go ahead and switch on over, if you're with me on page 184, the next strategy we're going to talk about is the clock. So part of being a grazer, and you'll find this as you start your journey, is that there's 24 hours in a day. And we know that the healthy habit of sleep means we need to get 8 hours of sleep. So during those other hours, we need to figure out, how are we going to fit 6 times of eating into those other hours? So 24 minus 8 is 16. So that gives us 16, right? So 16 divided by 6. Oh boy, this is math. 16 divided by 6 is roughly, I guess it's like every 2.5 to 3 hours, which is how it works out. So if we're eating every 2.5 to 3 hours, we're going to do that during the waking hours. We're going to make sure that we, pay attention to that clock. We start by eating an hour within waking, right? Because we want to get that metabolism started for the day. Plus, we want to get that eating clock started, because it's going to be time to go to bed before you know it, after having 5 fuelings and a lean and green, or 4 fuelings and 2 lean and greens. So we're trying to engineer this optimal day out of our clock. And we're going to create this eating every 2 to 2.5 hours, not going longer than 3 hours between meals, to help us build that grazing habit, create that natural portion control. If you want to look on page 185, he sort of shows that 24-hour clock. The key to becoming a grazer, ready? It's just consistency. It's just doing it every day. There's going to be days that you're perfect. There's going to be days that maybe you miss a fueling, or you know what? When you get sick too, sometimes you might sleep a lot, and so you don't eat as many fuelings. That's okay. When you are sick, you do the best you can, but you let your body dictate what it needs to heal. And then as you feel better, you go right back into that grazing habit. You'll notice that on this 24-hour, 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year system, that it builds a new rhythm. It creates homeostasis for you over time, which means that your day will be integrated around what matters most to you in terms of your health and well-being. And that is the truth, you guys. Looking on page 186, again, in the dark, I guess that's dark blue or charcoal gray. It's hard to tell in this dim lighting in the basement. That's your sleep hours. So from 23 to hour 6. So that's basically, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. You're getting those wonderful 7 to 8 hours of sleep. That number 7 there on the clock is sort of your waking up time. That takes a little bit of a minute. Part 2.13 in your Habits of Health book. So this is, of course, your life book, but the companion book, the Habits of Health book, in 2.13, Dr. Anderson talks about healthy sleep and unlimited energy, so you can make the most of those 8 hours of sleep. And I just wanted to point that out, because high quality sleep is also, it's a really important part of your journey. You can be being a great grazer. You can be eating your fuelings like you're supposed to, but if your sleep is off, it is going to create fatigue, and that's going to create cortisol to be released, and cortisol makes you want to hold on to fat. So another thing, Doc, we'll talk about sleep in a different element, but another thing you want to think about too is sleep plays a very big part in helping support our grazing habit, helping us have a healthy grazing habit. All right, let's talk about your fueling schedule, right? So I already said that we wake up and we eat within an hour of waking up, right? Okay, got that. So we're going to get that started. The minute that fueling hits your mouth, what are you going to do? You're going to set your alarm on your phone so that you're going to eat every 2 to 2.5 hours after that. You don't want to go longer than 3 hours. Our fuelings are designed to last for 3 hours. When you've transitioned off of the fuelings and you're using different things to fuel yourself in those grazing times during the day, okay, that's fine. You're still going to stick to that 2.5 hour window. You don't want to go longer than 3 hours because you don't want to get to your next meal and be ravenous, right? You want to help keep that portion control. Now, on page 187, Dr. Anderson has made, this is cool. Y'all can go to Kinko's and print this out if you want to make a little book of when you're going to fuel and what that fueling is. I love this page because, we get that wonderful optimal guide when we start our journey and we get to track the whole month. But then after that, we don't really have another guide that comes for the next month and the next month or however long it takes you to reach your healthy weight. And we track again like we did in the beginning when we transitioned, because now we're using whole foods, right? We're not utilizing the fuelings as much. We're slowly weaning those back to a number that we're comfortable with. So having this to print out again is nice. So that's page 187. If you want to make a note of that, this is great to print out. And I love that it has a little graphic at the top showing the chart, just to help, kind of a little visual reminder about sleep and about how many hours a day we do work with for those 6 fueling times. The nice features of the Habits of Health fuelings is once you have adjusted your schedule to your lifestyle, you can use this new habit both in your weight loss as well as your health optimization. It's not likely that you'll need to vary the timing of your fuelings, right? Depending on what phase you're in, because once you're grazing, it's probably going to stay the same. Sorry, I'm sitting on my knees. I got to shift. I'm sitting. There we go. A little bit lower on the ground. I love this cue routine, instant reward, long investment, little graphic here. All right. So this is basically to say, because how do you start a new habit? You have a cue that cues you to begin a routine, that then the reward is you feel better or you're fed and you're fueled for the next 2.5 to 3 hours. And then the long-term investment is you get to where you get the weight off that you want to get off. And then you maintain that weight loss and you move on to other healthy habits and mastering those and having lifelong wellness. So that's just a little graphic to show you how you can do that. My cue for me was setting alarms on my phone. That was the easiest. My phone is with me all the time. And so when I got up in the morning, I would just set the alarm on my phone for 2 hours after that time, that first fueling hit my mouth. Sometimes I space my fuelings, or when I eat 2.5 hours apart, sometimes it was 2 hours apart. It depended on the time of day and it depended on my activity level, right? So when I was on the 5 and 1, I had a very low activity level, physical activity. I mean, I had my just kind of moving around, but I had a lower activity level because we're not supposed to be doing a lot of heavy exercise, right? We're supposed to be mostly focusing on our new habits of the fueling every few hours, right? So I had a pretty set schedule with my fuelings, and I would do it pretty much every 2.5 hours. But as I transitioned, now sometimes when I have my morning workout, I might have something closer together to kind of sandwich my workout on both ends, to give me something to get through it and then to give me a recovery at the end. So those fuelings may be closer together, but I never go longer than 3 hours between fuelings. So that's something you work with your coach. But if you are just starting your journey, you'll just do every 2 to 2.5 hours. Describe what routine that you will use to eat every 3 hours. So on the top of page 189, you can see that you can describe, I kind of described where I would be, where I would keep my fuelings during that first week, because this was really new. I was not a grazer, and I had to kind of wrap my head around this. But after that, the biggest thing for you guys is going to be work week versus weekend. Work week is probably pretty structured for you. Weekend is a little different. So you just want to make sure that you have a plan for your fueling routine during the week when it's structured, but also on the weekend when life is completely different and pace is completely different. My biggest thing, and again, it's going back to that healthy sleep and that healthy habit clock. Dr. Anderson says that we want to keep our waking and bedtimes the same during the week as we do on the weekends. When we make a big shift, when we go, I'm going to stay super late on Friday night and I'm going to sleep way in on Saturday morning, that big shift in your routine really does make a difference in how you feel. And it can have you dragging through the weekend, and then it can have you feeling not your best on Monday morning, even if you're really great about the fuelings, but it can also upset your fueling schedule on the weekends. So if you can keep it as close to your weekly schedule as your weekend is close to your weekly schedule, that is the best thing to be able to do. That is a very, very big healthy habit tip I'm going to give you, because the sleep and the nutrition and the being able to space out your fuelings correctly so that you can get them all in, right? But also that you don't go too long between fuelings, or you don't feel fatigued, and you get to really take in that wonderful energy that you get from eating that way, is to keep those bedtimes the same. You will have continued energy and focus if you do that. What is the long-term investment you'll receive from eating every 3 hours? Well, I'm going to tell you, you're going to have better weight control. You're going to not be thinking about food all the time. It's just going to become a natural thing. You're going to have better portion control. You're not going to have a tendency to overeat anymore, which is glorious. I thought I would never break that barrier, ever. And that was one of the most exciting things for me as a client on this journey, was to be able to have natural portion control again and to not overeat anymore. And when I did overeat, if I did, have like I said, I was at a wedding or a party or whatever, I felt it way before I would have felt it before. And I instantly clipped it, curbed it, and was back to what I was doing, feeling good again. I love this grazing habit. I love having the fuelings during the weight loss phase, because it was so easy for traveling, for restaurants, for grocery shopping. Like, I know that our brain wants to make the excuse of, oh, I'm going on a trip, I'm going out of town, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Or, oh my gosh, my next week is crazy, I'm not gonna be able to do this. Y'all, these fuelings make it so you absolutely can do it. Airport food is so raw. Not only is it bad for you, it's super duper expensive, and it makes you feel horrible. I mean, you get the traveling ucks if you eat that stuff. Our fuelings can come with us. They go through TSA. They can be on carry-on. We can pack some in our luggage. And I'm not saying you have to, not enjoy some of the beautiful foods wherever you go. But man, in those traveling times, it helps us keep that consistency. It helps us keep that energy. It helps us keep that focus. It helps us really enjoy the moment. We're not distracted by having to worry about food or going too long without eating and then being starving to death. These fuelings are really great to be able to take with you. Traveling's not an excuse to skip out on fuelings. And it keeps our metabolism fed, so we feel good. I don't know if you've ever been on vacation and just kind of felt groggy and missed out on some stuff because you felt like you had to take a nap because either you overate or you didn't eat often enough. It eliminates all that, and it really does make traveling a much more pleasant experience. And it's so easy to take your fuelings with you and to keep that grazing habit, and you will feel better if you do that. It takes a while to build a habit. I will tell you that when life hits hard, sometimes the first thing I do is I fall back on dropping my grazing habit, but I immediately regret it and I immediately jump back in. And it's just as simple for me now, having, reached my weight loss goals, just knowing what I need to keep in my pantry and my fridge that's grab and go. Sometimes it's fuelings, sometimes it's other things like nuts and other, low calorie, low glycemic things that I can grab, healthy fruits, vegetables, things like that. But having those around, having the convenience of them is what helps keep me on track.
Who knew?
I disappeared, but now I'm back. Are you guys there?
You're back and you look like Kenny.
Are you? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but it says you're muted.
Oh, okay. Well.
Speak on.
All right. I don't know. Well, if you can hear me.
I can hear you, but you're cool.
All right. I don't know what's going on. 'Cause I pretty much covered it. I mean, you can talk ad nauseum about the same thing, but this is really the simplest chapter. Setting alarms is how you remember to do it. How you get going on that, eating like you're supposed to every 2 to 2.5 hours, not going longer than 3. And really just understanding the importance of the grazing habit is portion control. It's going to give you natural portion control and it's going to keep you there. It's going to keep your insulin level stable, which helps your body run so well and gives you that constant, really, really good energy throughout the day and focus, which is so, I mean, y'all, that's what I miss most when I screw up is the focus and the energy. And it's just about, keeping that grazing habit. And it's also not getting to a meal starving so that you overeat. And that is why lifelong being a grazer is the best habit to have. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. All right. Awesome.